We got a good one tonight, as it says tonight. The Cavaliers, they host the Knicks in a matchup of the NBA's top two teams over the last month. For the Knicks, Karl-Anthony Towns has been on a tear. He scored at least 20 points in 5 straight games for the first time this season. He's shooting 48% on three-pointers in that span. As for the Cavaliers, 6-1 record. They lead the NBA in offensive efficiency since trading for Mr. James Harden. The 36-year-old, he's averaging nearly 19 points, 9 assists in 6 games for Cleveland. But will that be enough to get the Cavs the win? Because after sweeping the Knicks last season, the Cavaliers, they've lost both games against the Knicks this year. Both of those were at MSG, though. And the Cavaliers, they are at home tonight. So, Rich, if you were on the call for this game, and you've been on a lot of Cavs games, you've been on a lot of Knicks games, what would you be telling the audience, this is what I am going to be looking for in this one?
I would look for Cavs and how their continuity continues to increase.
Okay.
They have a tremendous amount of offense. They have a tremendous amount of offense, and it's all coming together. But this is also a team that has struggled with playoff consistency. So now you're at a point where, okay, we bring in a superstar, but one of the things that James Harden has struggled with during his Hall of Fame career is consistency at the highest moments.
But look at his field goal percentage. It's like close to 50. Look at that amazing three-point percentage. And, you know, Donovan Mitchell's like, look, we don't need any divas. We're not divas together. I just want to play with another star for the first time in his career, so he's excited. Obviously, James not a diva by the way he's shooting. So I think this is growing into something pretty special.
What's the saying? Styles make fights. You have the #1 offense versus the #1 defense. You have a team in the Knicks that are very good at offensive rebounding, and a team in the Cavaliers that, strangely, even though they have 2 excellent big men, are not. And then you have a team that's very good at making corner threes and a team that is not good at all at defending corner threes. It feels like it's going to be a clash of styles. Who's going to win out?
Yeah, so I think Harden has had instantaneous chemistry with Jared Allen, Sam Merrill.
Yeah.
They've had some really good stuff click. But, you know, it's not just Harden. They're playing 10 guys right now, and 3 of them are brand new. Yeah. They traded for Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, too.
That's kind of what Rich was saying.
30% of your rotation is brand new. So they're having a lot of time where they just need to get in the work together and figuring out what the lineups are. And even Evan Mobley, he's back from injury, but he's on a minute restriction. So they're really, in my view, they're kind of like in November. Like they're still like in the November mentality. They're going to have to rush it. But that said, they have been playing terrifically, even though they haven't played their best basketball. And yeah, they lost.
12:30 tips. Weird stuff happens. The wild OKC nightlife gets to you.
They were down 28-5, and then they pretty much won the rest of the game by 15. I know it doesn't matter; it's still a loss. But like even that game, they took some positives out of it. So they have a tough week this week. Oklahoma City on Sunday. Tonight they obviously have the Knicks, and then Friday they have the game in Detroit.
Right.
So we're going to learn a lot about the Cavs. But more than anything, I think the Cavs are going to learn a lot about themselves as we go through this week.
Yeah, you're saying the Cavaliers, they can't, as the kids say, act brand new, even though they are a brand new team. On the Knicks side of all of this, Richard, I mentioned the numbers for Karl-Anthony Towns. He really offensively everything has been clicking as of late. What do you want to see from him in this matchup when you do have those twin towers on the other side?
Well, that's what makes him unique. He's a stretch 5, so he's going to bring them around the basket. And what I think is Mike Brown told us a long time ago when he first took over that Karl-Anthony Towns was going to have a progression. In their offense, the 1 through 4 is kind of a set, and then the 5 is a different offensive kind of mindset. So he's like, I'm trying to teach him all this. And Karl-Anthony Towns, in my opinion, that's why we're seeing his numbers pick up now. He feels more comfortable. Like he's only shooting 37% from 3. He's normally around 40 plus. But in February, he's right at 39%. So it's like, okay, now he's starting to track and look more comfortable. So I want to see them consistently build on that. Then I just want to see that matchup versus the Twin Towers. Defensive Player of the Year, All NBA. That's what I want to see.
How do you go up against those 2 trees? Speaking of, why the foliage? What are you sitting next to, Rich? Like,
well, if I don't have foliage on my head, I need foliage
you need it
around
somewhere.
Me. I need foliage around me.
The Cavs will be on ESPN, our Friday doubleheader. They face the East-leading Pistons, and then we have the Nuggets and Thunder. Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Shaq. Not a lot of head foliage there. They tip off our coverage at 6 Eastern, the best in the business, and they'll be back after the game as well.
Shots fired.
Ryan already brought up the T word once, tanking. So let's take a look at the bottom of the standings. But hey, look at the Kings. They won their first game since January the 16th on Monday. They ended a franchise-worst 16-game losing streak. Sacramento now has the worst record in the NBA. One of the teams that's trying to get that top pick in a loaded 2026 draft class. So let's check in here. Scouts definitely watching the projected top pick, Darren Peterson. Last night, the Jayhawks took on the 5th-ranked Houston at the Fog here. We're going to pick this one up early. Peterson misses. Flemings gets the board. Going the other way. Watch him navigate through traffic here. Slices, dices, finishes with the jam. Flemings had 16 points. Houston up 7. And in the final seconds of the first half here, Kansas up 2. Peterson drives. Gets a nice little floater to go. Kansas enters the half up 4. And then a little over 3 minutes left here. Kansas up 13. Melvin Council Jr. finds Peterson in the corner. Peterson had 14 points in this one, and Kansas gets the win. And now we are joined by our senior college basketball writer, Myron Metcalf, who, by the way, is making his NBA Today debut. And recently, you spent a little bit of time, right, with Darren Peterson for a piece that's live right now on ESPN.com. But Myron, Peterson's availability, it's been a huge storyline this season. From what you learned, how fair is the criticism that's surrounding him right now?
Well, he says it's completely unfair. I mean, he said he's been a competitor his entire life. This is the first time this narrative has been something he's had to deal with. And he hears it all, but he doesn't think it really describes who he is as a player. At the same time, when you're a projected #1 pick, people want to see you out there playing, and he hasn't been consistent. I think that's why the frustration is coming out from Bill Self and others who are saying the time is now for you to prove who you are at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And show scouts, show teams, show fans who you are now and who you can be at the next level. Let's hear from Darren. He hasn't spoken a lot after games this season, but he did. This is what he had to say after last night's win.
How do you go about keeping your own little bubble?
I don't know. I've kind of been a antisocial loner my whole life, kind of, so I kind of just deal with it on my own.
All right, Richard and Mark are going to join us here as well. Richard, you played 84 games right over your 3 seasons at Arizona. So from a player's perspective here, how much of this criticism feels warranted to you?
Well, I think it's tough because the nature of basketball now is that he's a freshman. So there's things that he's navigating as a freshman. So we're like, we never see him play. It's like, this is a small sample size. I broke my foot in college. I missed 20 games. These things happen. I think some of the management, and I think a lot of times people are looking at, is it a load management? Is it his team is telling him, don't play unless you're 100%? Make sure that if you're still nursing back, you put yourself on a minute restriction. That happens in the NBA right now. It's like, hey, you're the #1 pick. The only place you can go is down. So let's make sure that you're playing at 100%, that you're able to go. And so that's one of the things that I think could be going into this calculation. But the last thing I'll say is this. The #1 pick in the NBA draft is a place that that person's supposed to be a franchise leader, a person you can build around. It's not just you're the ultra talented. It's are you marketable? Can you be the face of the franchise? Can you do so many things? And so if you start to see inconsistencies in someone, if you're the #3 pick, that's not the worst. If you're the #4 pick, it's not the worst.
Sure.
But just to say that this has not impacted whether he is the #1 player in the draft, 100%, because everything goes into that calculation. Talent-wise, I can see him be the #1 pick, but talent isn't the only thing they evaluate.
Yeah, and I'm sensitive to the fact that we're asking about the criticism that he's faced and whether or not it's warranted, and then saying, okay, well, these are maybe more criticisms that we have. But it's not us, right, that is the most important when we talk about this. Mark, it's the scouts, it's the executives, it's folks around the league, it's their opinion that determines where you go in the lottery. What are you hearing from the NBA side of things, how they're viewing Darren Peterson here?
Before I get to that, because they still love him.
Okay.
Ryan Bernardi, the coach of Prolific Prep, he allowed me to go into the film room with Darren last year. Darren sat in the front middle. He watched intently. He gave a great report on Kiyan Anthony. And then afterwards, I was able to interview him. He's a very introverted kid, doesn't like to talk a lot. Felt lucky to get the interview. He's very, very quiet. But he certainly was locked in and was a good leader to this team. And I heard that at the beginning of the season he was having a lot of cramping issues, very tough cramps. He's also had the ankle injury. He's been sick. This kid's been taking pickle juice, drinking it at night, getting other fluids, trying to do everything. And somebody closer to me told him if he didn't want to be there, he could easily get a buyout from Kansas, come here to L.A., Malika, work out with the Wasserman Group, and because he's getting money from a trading card company, he's getting money from Adidas. So he's got money. So he's fighting it out, trying to play, trying to do the best he can, but he certainly is not trying to quit this team. But talking to a general manager, they seem to keep saying to me that he's the #1 pick, Wilson and A.J. Debinsa next. But he's a 3-tier scorer. He's a superstar at the 2 position. They think he's an elite player. And obviously the injuries give concern. But if this is just a season that he's going through with these cramping issues and teams think they could get past that, I expect him to be the #1 pick.
So, Myron, what is, you mentioned what Bill Self is saying. What is he saying he wants to see the rest of the year in order for him to come to fruition as the #1 pick?
He wants to see them lead. He wants to see him be more than just a talented star. We know that he is. He wants to see him be a playmaker with this team. The bottom line is they just don't have a ton of chemistry because they haven't been on the floor together enough this season with the games that Darren Peterson has missed. One of the things that wasn't in my story, though, is Darren said, listen, people forget that I'm just a freshman and I'm young and I'm trying to figure it out. So I do think there's an element of this where he does feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's trying to figure out why everyone's kind of against him for the first time in his life. At the same time, he could end the narrative if he just came out and said, this is what's happening. I want to play. My body's responding this way, and it's just not working out the way I expected. Not talking a lot is not helping.